Welcome to Blueprint Radio. I'm your host, Martin Williams. Here we help you create a blueprint for your life. So let's build. And welcome to Blueprint Radio. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the Blueprint Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S, or wherever you are listening to this podcast right now. So today's episode is entitled, We Are Not Creating, We Are Recreating. Okay? So one of the things that I've learned this year, one of the biggest things that I've learned this year in my study of, just various texts and in my own life, which is a book in and of itself, is that everything is already done. Everything's completed. Every single thing. Any and everything that you could possibly imagine has already been done. And knowing that, we know that we are not creating, but we are recreating. And so if there's something that you want to bring into reality, you're not the one that's coming up with it. Now, that might ruffle some feathers. That might mess with some people. But it's something you've got to understand, because I think a lot of times what happens is that people truly believe that they have to come up with a solution, or they have to come up with a project or a product or a service, and they got to come up with all these different things, and it can become overwhelming. It can become very stressful, and you can get anxious and basically end up not producing anything. And I think a lot of times, if you see someone that doesn't really get anything done or has trouble getting a lot of things done, is because their mind is overloaded, because they are trying to create instead of recreate. So think about it from terms of a business, right? You have a business that produces something. Let's say it produces sneakers, right? It produces clothes, right? So the production plant or the production center produces these items. They produce the sneakers and the clothes and everything else. And then a truck comes along, or a plane, or what have you, and all of that stuff is put into the truck or put on the plane, and it's transported to the store. And the store is where you will buy the sneakers and everything else. Now, I understand that we live in a day and age where people do the bulk of their shopping online now. Very few people are going into malls these days, especially with COVID and the varying variants and everything else. But just kind of go with me for a second. So the product is produced in one place and it's sold somewhere else. So the store doesn't have to figure out how to make shoes. The store is not making shoes in the store. The store is getting the shoes from somewhere else, right? But the store is the one where the money is exchanged, right? So if the sneakers cost $50 to make, right, and the store sells them for $200, the store makes a profit of $150 minus distribution costs and everything else, right? But the store didn't make the sneaker. The store is selling the sneaker. Now, when you think about it in your life, a lot of times we try to be the store and the production plant. And that becomes very stressful, because we really weren't created to be a production plant. We were created to be a mode of exchange with the world. Now, I use business because I think that's easier to understand. But let's say that you want or need an idea, right? You may need a business idea. You might need it quickly because you have employees to pay and you're not making a lot of money. So what do? you probably sit up and you rack your brain and you might try to do some things that worked before, but it may be time for something new. It may be time to innovate something that you haven't done before, but the ideas aren't coming, right? It's because you're trying to produce it instead of saying, I'm going to get quiet. I'm going to quiet my mind. I'm going to still my body, and I'm going to think about an amazing idea, and I'm going to prepare myself to receive this amazing idea. I'm going to prepare myself to receive the one thing that can turn my business around. I don't know consciously what it is yet, but I know it's out there, and I know that I have the capacity to exchange it with the world, right? But I just need the idea. So I go into that meditative state and I receive that idea, right? And within time, what happens is that you might be walking somewhere and then the idea comes. Or you might be making dinner or watching TV and out of nowhere that's it. Well, you received that idea. It just didn't happen at the time that, maybe you went into that meditative state. But you received the idea, and that's the idea that's going to turn your business around. That's the idea that's going to get you out of whatever predicament you're in. That idea was already present. That idea was already done. And it's not just the idea, it's the actual thing, right? So I'll give you an example, another example. At work today, there was an issue where there was a coworker who was having a problem, and she seemed like she was new. I didn't ask, but it seemed like she hadn't been at the company very long. So during a forum, the question came up, and I decided to chime in because I had a similar situation happen a few months ago, and I was equally lost. But her situation was a little bit different when I began to talk to her about the particulars. So instead of going from my experience, I said, I'm going to basically get the solution from above. I'm going to get it from God. I'm going to get it from that divine place. Now, I didn't tell anybody that. I just went into my mind and I got it, right? So I said, just give me the solution for her. Right? I just decided to be generous and go and get the solution for her, right? And so I asked her just to give me a second because we were IMing. I said, just give me a second, I'm going to check something. So I got an idea, and I basically gave her the solution. And she said, I didn't think of that. But I knew that was going to put her on the right path. And I had a perfect trust because that where I got it from is never wrong. We can be wrong all the time, right? We can be wrong quite frequently because we're depending on experience or maybe depending on emotion, or we're depending on someone else's experience. And none of those things are wrong in and of themselves, but they're imperfect, right? When you get the idea, when you get the truth from above, when you get it from that unseen realm, right? That unseen place, when you get it from there, you're never wrong. It's 100% right all the time because it's already done. Everything's already completed. You don't have to figure out how am I going to do this thing because it's already done. And I really believe that life is really just an exercise of how many things can I use this with, and how far can I take it, right? Because it may start with a parking space or an idea to help a coworker, but it might end in houses and cars and businesses and, marriages and all these different things that so many people are wanting and desiring, but have no real plan on how to get it, have no real strategy on how to get it. Well, I'm telling you how to get it. I'm telling you how. Because it's already done. Your relationship, your perfect relationship is already completed. It's here, right? It's just you've got to get in the place where you can receive it, right? If the truck doesn't show up to the plant, the truck can't take the sneakers to the store. And a lot of times we want things, but we can't receive it. And if you can't receive it, then you can't realize it and profit from it, right? If the truck doesn't pick up the sneakers, the store can't make a profit. And if you can't make a profit, then you can't pay your workers, and you can't pay for the space, and you can't grow the business. And too many times, people, they either block their revelation, they block the blessing by being, just being ornery or being negative or being lazy or just getting overloaded. And, sometimes it's not something that's malicious, but sometimes people just get overloaded because they're trying to do it all themselves when it's already been done. Like, it's been done. You're just, instead of creating the picture, you're basically tracing it, and you're bringing it into this realm and bringing it into the seen world. So I wanted to give you 3 things before I leave. I wanted to give you 3 things to remember when you're doing this process. Number 1, you want to be absolutely clear about what you want to bring into reality. Don't just say that I want a marriage. Say I want a healthy, life-giving marriage. The second thing is decide that you're going to have it. A lot of people daydream, right? But they don't make a decision that I'm going to bring that into my life. I'm going to bring that reality into my life. You got to make the decision that I'm going to bring that into my life. I decided to have it. I decided to have a healthy marriage. I decided to have a job that paid me what I was worth. I decided to have a car. I decided to have a nice place, a place where I could be comfortable and my family could be comfortable, right? I decided to have a good life. It's a decision, okay? And the third thing is let it happen, don't make it happen, right? There's many times where I tried to force things and it didn't work. Or it eventually didn't work. It worked initially and then eventually didn't work because that's not true creation. Don't get me wrong, you can force some things and it seems like it works for a season, but ultimately it doesn't, right? And I can point to relationships, I can point to jobs, I can point to business ideas where I tried to make it work instead of letting it work. So you stop trying to make things work. You stop trying to force things to happen, and you let it happen because it's already happened, right? It's already completed. You're distributing. That truck is taking that thing, that invisible truck, for lack of a better way of saying it. That invisible truck is taking what you desire from where it's already completed and into your life where you can enjoy it and profit from it. So hopefully that made sense to you. Hopefully it helped you in some way. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the podcast. And also go to my website and pre-order my course, the Blueprint course. It will be out very soon. And I go into much more depth about this, and hopefully it will change your life the way that it's changed mine. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Martin Williams, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Blueprint Radio. For more information on Martin Williams coaching and products, please go to guidedexpressions.com or visit me on Facebook as well as Instagram.